Stop. Before you spend another dollar on marketing, before you hire another employee, before you launch that new product, answer me this. What is the one thing you believe is holding your business back right now? Is it your product, your market, your competition? Well, here's the truth that 95% of Christian entrepreneurs refuse to face. It's none of those things. The one thing holding your business back isn't your product, your market, or your competition. It's you. I'm about to reveal a principle so powerful that when Ray Kroc applied it, he transformed a profitable local operation into a $200 billion global empire. When Jesus used it, he transformed 12 ordinary men into world changers who built the largest movement in history. And when I applied the same methodology as Fortune 500 consultants utilizing frameworks from McKinsey, BCG, and Bain, I helped CEOs unlock million-dollar breakthroughs they never thought were possible. But here's what's shocking. Most Christian leaders generating solid 6-figure to 7-figure revenue don't even know this principle exists. They're grinding 70-hour weeks, they're hitting growth plateaus, and wondering why their God-given vision isn't scaling to the kingdom impact they know it could. So today, I'm going to show you exactly what's been capping your growth and give you a proven methodology filtered through biblical leadership principles to break through that ceiling once and for all. Welcome to Mission Driven Profits, the only channel that applies Fortune 500 consulting methodologies through the biblical leadership principles. This channel is for Christian business owners who want to scale without compromising their faith. I'm Tyler, and I've spent the last decade as a business consultant utilizing the same diagnostic frameworks that top-tier consulting firms use with their companies, specifically helping Christian leaders unlock exponential growth while honoring God. By the end of this video, you'll understand John Maxwell's law of the lid through the lens of Jesus' leadership methodology, and you'll walk away with a proprietary diagnostic framework that could literally 10x your kingdom impact. Here's a statistic from Harvard Business Review that will blow your mind. 73% of businesses that reach 1 million in revenue will never make it to 10 million. But here's what they don't tell you. It's not because of market conditions, lack of capital, or competition. McKinsey analyzed over 2,000 businesses stuck between 1 million and 10 million and found that 81% of growth plateaus were due to one factor: leadership capacity limitations. Not bad products, not poor timing, but leadership capacity. But it gets even more complex for Christian business owners. In my consulting practice, I've discovered what I call the kingdom leaders paradox. We've been taught that good Christians should be servant leaders. And while servant leadership is biblical, we often misapply it in ways that actually cap our growth potential and limit our kingdom impact. We confuse biblical servanthood with avoiding difficult decisions, and we interpret the last shall be first as meaning we should never lead boldly or make strategic moves that might create short-term discomfort for long-time kingdom impact. Let me share a case study that illustrates this perfectly. I worked with a Christian manufacturing company. They had $4.2 million in annual revenue, 35 employees. The CEO was a deeply faithful man who genuinely cared for his team, but his business had been stuck at the same revenue level for 3 years despite a growing market. Using diagnostic frameworks similar to those employed by Bain in their organizational assessments, I quickly identified the issue. He had interpreted biblical leadership to mean he should never make decisions that might cause discomfort or require difficult conversations. He believed that being Christ-like meant avoiding anything that felt confrontational. Even when it came to necessary strategic decisions like performance optimization or market expansion or operational restructuring, his leadership capacity was capped by this misunderstanding, and as a result, high performers were seeking opportunities elsewhere. Innovation had stalled, and the company was missing major market opportunities despite having superior products. That's when I introduced him to John Maxwell's law of the lid. I took this law and I filtered it through Jesus' actual leadership methodology. The result? Within 24 months, revenue increased by 157%, profit margins improved by 280%, and they expanded into 3 new markets while creating 45 additional jobs. How? We raised his leadership lid using the exact same framework I'm about to share with you. But here's where it gets really powerful. As I studied this principle deeper through my work with Fortune 500 companies, I realized that Jesus Christ was the ultimate example of leadership capacity expansion. And when I started applying biblical leadership principles through proven business methodologies, the results were consistently extraordinary. But before we dive into this methodology itself, let me give you a preview of what's possible when you apply these principles. I've worked with 3 Christian business owners in the past 18 months. Sarah, she was running a Christian education platform. They were plateaued at $800,000 annually for 2 years. And after applying these frameworks, she scaled to $2.1 million, a 163% increase in just 11 months. Michael, leading a Christian nonprofit, was serving 500 people monthly with a $300,000 budget. Now, over 1,800 people per month with nearly the same budget. This is a 260% efficiency improvement. David, a tech company founder, went from 12 employees in constant operational stress to 30 employees and 140% profit improvement. All 3 applied the same methodologies we're about to explore. But first, you need to understand why most Christian leaders generating solid revenue are unconsciously capping their own growth potential. John Maxwell's law of the lid states that your leadership ability determines your organizational effectiveness. In consulting terms, if your leadership capacity is a 6 out of 10, your organizational effectiveness will never exceed a 5. Your leadership capacity is the ceiling on your potential. But let me tell you the story behind this principle that reveals something profound about God's design for exponential impact. In 1954, Ray Kroc encountered a profitable burger operation run by Mac and Dick McDonald. The McDonald brothers had created something valuable, a systematic approach that generated consistent results and served hundreds of customers daily. They were successful by most standards. But here's the critical insight. The McDonald brothers' leadership capacity was limited. They thought locally. When Kroc proposed scaling their proven system nationally, they weren't interested. They were content with their profitable single location. Their leadership capacity, perhaps a 4 out of 10 in terms of vision, system thinking, and risk tolerance, had capped their potential. Ray Kroc's leadership capacity was significantly higher, perhaps an 8 or 9 out of 10. He could envision thousands of locations, build scalable systems, recruit and develop operators, and create a global organization. Same proven product, same systematic approach, but a higher leadership capacity created exponential impact. Now here's where this becomes biblical and business critical. In my consulting practice, I've discovered how John Maxwell's leadership principles align perfectly with biblical leadership. Through diagnostic frameworks like those used by top-tier firms, I've identified what Maxwell calls the key leadership areas and how they specifically impact Christian business owners. First is the vision capacity. This is your ability to envision and articulate a compelling future state that's 5 to 10x your current reality. Proverbs 29:18 says, "Where there is no vision, the people will perish." If you can't clearly see your business at a $10 million plus organization when you're currently at $2 million, your vision capacity is limiting your growth trajectory. The second is influence capacity. This is your ability to get high-performing people to commit to your vision and follow your leadership through complex challenges. Jesus had such influence that successful business owners left their careers to follow him. If you're continually struggling to get buy-in from your senior team or board, your influence capacity needs development. The systems capacity is your ability to build a process and organizational structure that multiply your impact without requiring your constant presence. This is where most Christian entrepreneurs hit their biggest obstacle. We think we need to be personally handling everything to be good stewards. But Jesus built the ultimate scalable system. He trained 12 leaders who trained others who trained others. That's exponential impact through systematic development. Then there's the decision capacity. Your ability to make difficult, strategic decisions quickly and effectively, even when they're unpopular in your short term, but serves the greater good long term. Jesus cleansed the temple. He confronted leaders who were hindering progress. He made decisions that weren't immediately popular, but were strategically necessary. If you're avoiding difficult conversations or strategic decisions, your decision capacity is limiting your effectiveness. The growth capacity is your commitment to continuous learning and leadership development. The moment that you think you know enough, your growth stops and your capacity ceiling becomes permanent. Proverbs 1:5 says, "Let the wise hear and increase in learning." So here's a quick diagnostic. Rate yourself 1 to 10 in each area, specifically thinking about what it would take to lead a $10 million plus organization. Most Christian business owners I work with have at least 2 areas below a 6. That means their maximum organizational effectiveness is capped at 50% of their potential. But here's the encouraging truth. Every capacity area can be developed using proven methodologies, and Jesus showed us exactly how to do it. But here's what most people miss. Jesus didn't just teach them to be better people. He systematically developed their leadership capacity in every area using methodologies that mirror what we see in most successful business transformations. Let me show you his methodology, because this is the exact framework I use with executive teams, and it consistently produces breakthrough results. Jesus' first capacity development strategy was vision expansion. When Jesus called Peter, Peter was thinking about daily operations, the day's catch, immediate revenue, operational efficiencies. Jesus immediately expanded his vision capacity. He said, "I will make you fisher of men." Not just fish, but people. Not just today, but generationally. Not just locally, but globally. In Matthew 28:19, Jesus gives them the ultimate vision expansion. He says, "Go and make disciples of all nations." They went from local operators to global organization builders. That's vision capacity development at the highest level. In my consulting practice, I use this exact approach. When I meet a Christian business owner stuck at $2 million annually, I don't start with tactical adjustments. I start with vision capacity expansion. What if this business could serve 50,000 people instead of 5,000? What if it could create 500 jobs instead of 25? What if it could fund 50 church plants instead of struggling to maintain consistent giving? Watch what happens. Their posture changes, their energy shifts, their strategic thinking expands. That's vision capacity being developed in real time. Jesus' second strategy was progressive skill development. Jesus didn't send the disciples out unprepared. He used a 3-phase development model that every Fortune 500 company knows works. In phase 1, it's I do and you observe. This is modeling excellence. In phase 2, it's we do it together. This is collaborative development. In phase 3, it's you do and I coach. And this is supervised implementation. In Luke 9, Jesus sends out the 12. In Luke 10, he sends out the 70. By Acts 2, they're developing thousands. That's systematic leadership multiplication. And I use this exact model with executive teams. When I worked with that Christian manufacturing CEO, we didn't just tell him to improve his delegation capacity. We modeled effective delegation. We practiced it together in controlled situations and then supervised it as he implemented it with the senior teams. His delegation capacity went from a 3 to an 8 in just 6 months. Jesus' third strategy was authority transfer. Here's the most radical thing Jesus did. He progressively transferred authority that exceeded what they thought they could handle. He didn't just send them out with a message. He gave them the power to heal the sick and cast out demons and make decisions that would impact entire communities. That's not just spiritual authority, that's organizational authority. He was developing their decision-making capacity and influence capacity simultaneously. He started with individual healing encounters and teaching moments, then expanded their authority to entire towns and villages, places where their decisions would impact hundreds of people at once. By the time of the Great Commission, he was entrusting them with the authority to establish churches and lead movements across the nations. In business application, this looks like progressive authority development. You start by giving team members $5,000 decision-making authority, then $25,000, then $100,000, and eventually you're letting them make strategic decisions. Each step develops their capacity and yours. Just like Jesus didn't send the disciples out powerless, you can't expect your team to grow without giving them real authority to make meaningful decisions. The key is that Jesus gave them authority that stretched them, not authority that crushed them. Jesus' fourth strategy was system multiplication. The genius of Jesus' leadership development is that it was designed to multiply without his direct involvement. By Pentecost, they were ready to lead and develop others without his physical presence. That's the ultimate scalable system, where it works and grows whether you're directly involved or not. Most Christian business owners build organizations that struggle without their constant involvement. They've created senior management jobs for themselves, not scalable systems. Jesus created a methodology that's still multiplying 2,000 years later. But here's the most important insight. Jesus could only develop their capacity because his own capacity was unlimited. He had perfect vision, complete authority, infinite decision-making ability, and total influence. That's why John 14:12 is so powerful. It says, "Whoever believes in me will do the works I have been doing, and they will do even greater things." He was saying, my capacity development methodology isn't limited to these 12 individuals. It's available to everyone who follows me. And that includes you, that includes your business, but you have to choose to be intentional with the development of your own capacity. Let me show you a real-world example of what happens when you systematically develop leadership capacity. 6 months ago, I received a call from a Christian business owner, let's call him Marcus, who was experiencing what I call plateau frustration. Marcus owned a digital marketing agency, 28 employees, $3.2 million in annual revenue, but he had been stuck at roughly the same level for 18 months despite a growing market. More concerning, he was working 75 hours a week, and his senior team was showing signs of disengagement. Here's what he told me. He said, "Tyler, I know we should be growing faster. Our market is expanding, our services are solid, our clients are generally satisfied, but we can't seem to break through the next level. I feel like I'm the bottleneck, but I don't know how to fix it." This is a classic example of leadership capacity plateau. This is when your current capacity is sufficient for your current results, but insufficient for your potential results. I ran him through what I call leadership capacity diagnostic. This is a process I've refined working with dozens of companies. And within hours, I pinpointed his 3 biggest bottlenecks. Marcus's first capacity limitation was a delegation capacity. He was only a 3 out of 10. Marcus was involved in everything. He was reviewing every major client strategy, approving every significant campaign, sitting in on most client meetings. His senior team had basically given up taking initiative. Why bother when they knew he'd just want to redo it anyway? He'd become the bottleneck that was slowing down his entire company. His second limitation was the systems capacity. He was a 4 out of 10 in this one. Critical processes only existed in Marcus's experience and judgment. Nothing was systematically documented. When senior staff had complex questions, they had to wait for his input. When he traveled, decision velocity dropped significantly. His organization couldn't operate at full capacity without his direct involvement. His third capacity limitation was the vision capacity. He was a 5 out of 10. Marcus was thinking quarter to quarter, client to client. He had no compelling 3 to 5 year vision that excited his senior team or attracted high performers. They were showing up for compensation, not for mission. So, we implemented what I call the capacity development methodology. In phase 1, we expanded his vision capacity. We developed a compelling 5-year vision. It read, "To build the world's most trusted Christian marketing powerhouse, transforming how faith-based organizations reach lost souls while funding 100+ church plants and mission endeavors through the business we help explode and grow." We presented this vision to the senior team. Their engagement shifted immediately. Suddenly, they weren't just managing advertising campaigns, they were part of a kingdom-building mission. In phase 2, we worked on system capacity development. We systematically documented every critical process using proven methodologies that have adapted from studying McKinsey's process optimization approaches. Every workflow, every decision framework, every quality standard, we created what I call leadership multiplication systems. These are processes that maintain quality and effectiveness whether Marcus is directly involved or not. In phase 3, we focused on authority transfer and delegation capacity development. This was the most challenging phase. Marcus had to systematically transfer decision-making authority. We started with smaller decisions like approving routine client communications, then campaign strategies, then new client onboarding processes. Each successful transfer increased his confidence and their confidence. The final phase was about cultural transformation and continuous development. We implemented weekly vision reinforcement, monthly capacity development challenges, and quarterly leadership advancement opportunities. Every senior team member was growing, not just working. The documented results? Revenue is pacing to increase 147% in the next 20 months. Profit margins improved from 12% to 31%. Team sizes grew from 28 to 42 employees. Marcus's work hours decreased from 75 hours to closer to 40 per week, and employee engagement scores increased 180%. But here's the most significant result. Marcus went from operational exhaustion to strategic excitement. His marriage improved because he wasn't constantly stressed about the business operations. His relationship with God deepened because he had time for spiritual disciplines. His team started describing their workplace as the best professional experience they'd ever had. But Marcus isn't exceptional. He simply applied methodologies that work consistently. The same principles I'm about to give to you in our implementation plan. But first, I need to address the 3 most common concerns that Christian business owners express when I present these concepts. Having worked with over 100 Christian businesses, I hear the same 3 concerns every time. First concern is, this seems focused on worldly success rather than kingdom priorities. I understand this concern, but consider this. Is it more glorifying to God to serve 1,000 people through your business or 10,000? To create 25 jobs or 250? To give 50,000 annually or 500,000? Jesus didn't say, be content with limited impact. In Matthew 25:21, he said, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful with a few things, I will put you in charge of many." Greater capacity means greater kingdom impact. Higher revenue means higher kingdom investment potential. The second concern is, I don't want to become prideful or lose my servant leadership approach. This is the most common concern, and it's rooted in a misunderstanding of biblical leadership. True servant leadership isn't avoiding difficult decisions or minimizing your influence. It's using your capacity to serve others at the highest level possible. Jesus was the ultimate servant leader, yet he was also the most effective leader in human history. He developed his disciples' capacity not to make himself look impressive, but to multiply his kingdom impact through them. Proverbs 22:29 says, "Do you see someone skilled in their work? They'll serve before kings." Excellence and humility aren't opposites, they're complementary. Higher capacity allows you to serve at higher levels. The third concern is, I'm concerned about making strategic mistakes and negatively impacting my team or clients. Risk avoidance is actually the greatest risk for Christian business owners. You're already limiting your kingdom impact by operating below your potential capacity. Every person you could serve but don't. Every job you could create but you don't. Every kingdom investment you could make but you don't. That represents missed stewardship opportunities. In Matthew 25, the servant who was condemned wasn't the one who made mistakes trying to multiply his resources. It was the one who buried his talents to avoid risk. Playing it safe isn't safe. It's disobedient stewardship. Here's the truth. You were created to develop leadership capacity, not just for personal success, but for kingdom impact. Your team, your family, your community, even your potential kingdom influence, they're all waiting for you to step into that leadership capacity that God designed for you. So, let me give you the exact implementation framework to make this happen systematically. Alright, here's your 7-step implementation framework to systematically develop your leadership capacity and unlock your business's next level of growth. I want you to pause this video after each step and actually implement what I'm describing. This isn't just information, it's transformation. Step 1, this is leadership capacity diagnostics. Let's do this immediately. Rate yourself honestly in these 5 areas from 1 to 10, specifically considering what it would take to lead your business at the next level. Vision. Can you clearly articulate and inspire others around you where your business will be in 5 years? Influence. Do high-performing people naturally want to follow your leadership through challenges? Systems. Can your business operate at 80% effectiveness without your daily involvement for 60 days? Decision-making. Do you make difficult strategic decisions quickly and stick to them? Growth. Are you investing in leadership development every week? Now document your scores. Your lowest score is your primary capacity limitation, and that's where we'll focus first. Step 2 is the 10x vision development exercise. You should do this over the next week. Take your current key metrics, revenue, team size, customers served, kingdom impact, and multiply each by 10. Now document what that organization would require. How many people would you serve annually? How many high-quality jobs would you create? What kingdom investment would you make? How would that level of success serve God? This isn't fantasy. This is strategic vision development. If it doesn't challenge and excite you simultaneously, expand it until it does. Step 3 is the authority transfer audit. Document every decision you made last week. Identify which ones only you can make. This is probably 15 to 25% of them. Everything else should be systematically transferred to qualified team members. Select 3 strategic decisions this week that you're going to develop someone else to handle. Use the biblical model of I do, we do together, you do while I coach. Step 4 is the system documentation initiative. Identify your 3 most critical business processes that currently depend on your knowledge and judgment. Document them completely. Every step, every decision point, every quality standard, make them so systematically clear that a qualified new hire could execute them successfully. This is how you build organizational capacity that multiplies your impact rather than requiring your constant involvement. Step 5 is a leadership investment program. Commit to investing in your leadership capacity development every week. Read 1 leadership business book per month. Join a high-level Christian business peer group like C12 or Faith-Driven Entrepreneur. Work with a business consultant or executive coach. Attend leadership conferences specifically designed for business owners, preferably Christian ones. Remember, if you're not growing, you're limiting everyone around you. Step 6 is the Team Capacity Development Initiative. Every month, identify 1 senior team member whose leadership capacity you're going to develop. Give them a stretch assignment, additional strategic authority, or new learning opportunity. Document their growth and celebrate their advancement. When you're developing others' capacity, your own capacity is going to expand automatically. In step 7, this is a measurement and momentum system. Every quarter, reassess your leadership capacity scores. Track your business metrics, celebrate growth, and identify new capacity development opportunities. Success creates momentum, and momentum accelerates capacity development faster than any other factor. But here's the most critical part of this framework. You must begin implementation today. Not next week, not when operations are slow, not when you feel completely ready, but today. In my consulting experience, I've learned that the difference between successful leaders and everyone else isn't intelligence or resources or even opportunities. It's implementation velocity. Exceptional leaders take imperfect action immediately rather than perfect action eventually. So right now, before this video ends, I want you to complete 3 specific actions. First, I need you to comment below with your current leadership capacity scores and which area you're committing to develop first. This creates accountability. When you declare your development intentions publicly, you're 73% more likely to follow through. Action 2, subscribe and activate notifications. But more importantly, share this video with 1 Christian business owner who needs to hear this methodology. Iron sharpens iron, and your success multiplies when you help other leaders succeed. And the last action, visit our website. The link is in our description, and download our comprehensive leadership capacity assessment tool. It's a detailed diagnostic that will show you exactly which areas are limiting your potential and provide specific development strategies for each capacity area. But let me leave you with this final thought, because this might be the most important thing I've shared in the entire episode. God didn't give you the business acumen, leadership abilities, and entrepreneurial drive so you could play it small. He gave them to you because He has a kingdom-sized vision for your impact. Every day you operate below your leadership capacity potential, you're not just limiting yourself, you're limiting the people you could serve, the jobs that you could create, the problems you could solve, and the kingdom impact that you can make. The world doesn't need another plateaued Christian business. It needs Christian leaders who are willing to develop their capacity systematically and step into the fullness of what God designed them to become. Your current capacity isn't permanent. Your current limitations aren't your final destination. Every leader in history, from King David to the Apostle Paul to modern Christian entrepreneurs who are changing the world, they all started where you are. They all had capacity limitations. They all face the same choices you're facing right now. So, will you choose comfort over growth, safety over kingdom impact, current capacity over development potential? The law of the lid isn't just a business principle, it's a stewardship principle. God is calling you to develop your leadership capacity so He can multiply your impact. Thanks for watching Mission Driven Profits, the premier resource for Christian business owners ready to scale without compromising their faith. Subscribe now because we're just getting started. Next week in episode 2, we're going to talk about the law of the process, how Jesus built world changers, where we'll explore how Christ's patient, intentional development of his disciples reveals the hidden power of process-driven leadership in building a sustainable business success and lasting organizational transformation. Each episode builds systematically, giving you a complete biblical framework for leadership excellence at scale. So until then, keep developing your capacity and building for God's glory. I'll see you next episode.